My name is Charles, and I've spent the last 3 years perfecting the art of not feeling anything. I'm 32, corporate accountant, Chicago Loop, 47th floor. The kind of job where precision matters more than personality, where misplaced decimal point costs more than most people make in a year. I'm exceptionally good at it, actually. My clients trust me with their wealth because I never let emotion cloud my judgment. Cold calculation, they call it. I call it survival. My mornings start at 5:30 with black coffee and Bloomberg reports. By 7, I'm at my standing desk, tie already loosened because I know I won't leave before 9. The view from my office is spectacular: Lake Michigan stretching endlessly to the east, the city sprawling in every direction, but I stopped noticing it 2 years ago. Now it's just glass and distance, same as everything else in my life. I live in River North, a penthouse unit with those floor-to-ceiling windows developers love to brag about. 1,600 square feet of carefully curated emptiness. Everything matches. Nothing feels lived in. My refrigerator contains yogurt, almond milk, and a drawer of vegetables I'll throw out Sunday. The wine rack holds bottles I bought because someone told me they were good investments. I haven't opened one in 8 months. People think money buys comfort. It doesn't. It buys insulation. From noise, from chaos, from other people's needs, from feeling too much or hurting too badly. I learned that lesson the hard way. 3 years ago, I had different plans. A fiancée named Marguerite, a wedding venue booked, invitations designed, a future mapped out with the same precision I bring to balance sheets. Then I came home early one Thursday. Some client meeting had been canceled, and found her in our bed with a partner from her law firm. I didn't shout, didn't throw anything. I stood in the doorway with my briefcase still in my hand and felt something inside me shut down, like a breaker switching off before the system overloads. She cried, apologized, said it meant nothing, that she'd been stressed, that we could work through it. I moved out that weekend. Never raised my voice once. Everyone expected me to be devastated. My mother kept calling, asking how I was holding up. Samuel from work took me out for drinks, trying to get me to open up. But there was nothing to open. Whatever part of me that used to feel betrayal or grief or rage had simply stopped. It was easier that way. Cleaner. Since then, I've been on maybe 5 dates. 6 if you count the disaster Samuel set up with his wife's yoga instructor. They all end the same way. Dinner, polite conversation, a good night that feels more like a dismissal. You're hard to read. One woman told me over Thai food in Wicker Park. It's like talking to a very polite wall. Another lasted 3 dates before saying, I don't think you're actually here, Charles. I think you left a long time ago and just forgot to tell anyone. She wasn't wrong. Samuel refuses to accept it. He's worked down the hall from me for 5 years, close enough to be persistent, but not close enough to know when to quit. Good guy. Married. 2 kids. The kind of person who still believes everyone deserves love and second chances and all that optimistic garbage. He'd been circling this blind date idea for weeks, bringing it up casually over coffee, mentioning it while we reviewed portfolio projections. Last Tuesday, he cornered me by the elevators at the end of day. Charles, I'm serious. You can't just work yourself into the grave. Jenny's a good person. Smart, funny, real. Just coffee. 1 hour. If it's awful, I'll never bother you again. You'll never bother me again? Well, I'll try not to. I agreed because arguing seemed like it would take more energy than just going. Plus, there was a certain logic to it. I'd show up, be cordial for exactly 60 minutes, confirm that I was indeed incapable of human connection, and Samuel would finally back off. Simple risk assessment. Minimal downside. The restaurant he chose was called Otra, one of those places in Lincoln Park where the prices aren't on the menu and the waiters describe food like they're narrating a documentary. All reclaimed wood and Edison bulbs and wine lists the size of phone books. The kind of spot where first dates go to either ignite or die quick formal deaths. I got there at 6:47. Our reservation was for 7. The host led me to a booth in the back, burgundy leather, slight view of the kitchen, enough privacy for conversation, but not so secluded you'd feel trapped. I ordered sparkling water and checked my phone. 17 unread emails. A text from Samuel, don't be weird. Just be yourself. Actually, maybe don't be yourself. Be a warmer version. The restaurant hummed with Friday evening energy. Couples leaning close over candlelight. A group of women celebrating something at the bar, their laughter cutting through the jazz playing softly overhead. Everyone looked comfortable in their lives, their skin. I felt like an anthropologist observing a species I'd once belonged to. At 6:58, I rehearsed my exit. Keep it simple. This was nice, but I don't think we're a match. I hope you find what you're looking for. Polite, decisive, quick. At 7:02, she walked in. I noticed her immediately, the way you notice a shift in temperature or air pressure. She stood just inside the entrance, scanning the room with an expression I recognized because I wore it myself most days. Careful assessment, measured expectations, the look of someone who'd learned not to hope for too much. She was maybe 29, 30. Brown hair falling just past her shoulders, catching the amber light from above. She wore a dark green dress, elegant without trying too hard, the kind of choice that suggested she cared about making an impression but wasn't desperate for approval. What struck me wasn't her appearance, though. She was beautiful in an understated way, but something else. A tension in her shoulders, the way her hand gripped her small purse, the barely perceptible breath she took before the host approached her. She looked like someone preparing to be disappointed. The host gestured toward our booth. Her eyes found mine across the restaurant, and for half a second, I saw something flicker in her expression. Not excitement, something more complicated. Recognition, maybe, or resignation. She walked toward me, her smile practiced but genuine, and I stood, extending my hand, preparing to play the role I'd perfected over 3 years of careful emotional management. I had no idea that in 43 minutes, I'd make a decision that would crack open everything I'd built to keep myself safe. I had no idea this woman with shadows in her eyes and guard in her posture would be the one to make me feel something I thought I'd buried for good. And I definitely had no idea that when she started crying in the middle of our entrees and said, "No one wants to date me," I wouldn't be able to walk away. That I'd reach across the table, take her hand, and say the only honest thing I'd said in 3 years. I didn't stop what happened. Hold on. Before Charles walks into that restaurant, I need to tell you something that's going to sting. Right now, 94% of you watching haven't subscribed. That's not a guess. That's the actual number. And here's what happens. The algorithm buries this video. You close YouTube, and 3 weeks from now, you'll be desperately searching that story about the guy who stayed, and you'll never find it again. Don't let that be you. This story gets more emotional from here. Charles is about to meet someone who changes everything. But if you don't subscribe right now, you'll miss what happens next. It's free. It takes 2 seconds. Hit that button. I'll wait. Because trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. My corner office on the 47th floor has exactly 3 personal items. A Mont Blanc pen my father gave me when I made partner, a crystal paperweight from a client who died last year, and a photo of the Chicago skyline I keep turned toward the window. Nothing that reveals who I am. Nothing that invites questions. I like it that way. Every morning follows the same script. Market analysis at 5:30. Gym at 6:15, 30 minutes. No distractions. Shower, shave, suit. The gray Tom Ford on Mondays and Thursdays. The navy Brooks Brothers on Tuesdays and Fridays. The charcoal Armani on Wednesdays. I own 7 watches and rotate them deliberately. Details matter. Control matters. When everything has its place, nothing can surprise you. My apartment reflects the same philosophy. 1,600 square feet of carefully managed emptiness. The cleaning service comes Tuesdays. I leave them a check on the counter and make sure I'm never there when they arrive. The less human contact, the better. Samuel thinks this makes me pathetic. "You're 32. Not 70, he said last week, leaning against my office doorframe with that expression he wears when he's about to meddle. When's the last time you did something that wasn't scheduled in your calendar? I'm perfectly content. You're perfectly dead inside." He stepped in, closing the door. My wife's friend Jenny. Social worker, smart, real. Just coffee. 1 hour. Not interested. But Samuel doesn't quit. For 3 days straight, he brought it up. Casual mentions during meetings. Texts after hours. Finally cornering me by the elevator Friday afternoon with his phone out, already typing. I'm setting it up. 7 o'clock. Otra in Lincoln Park. If it's a disaster, I'll never ask again. I agreed because arguing required more effort than compliance. Besides, I perfected the exit strategy years ago. Show up. Be polite. Leave. Simple. What I didn't know was that some disasters you don't want to escape. She arrived at 7:02, and my first thought was that Samuel had undersold her. Jenny wasn't just attractive, she carried herself with a composure that felt earned, not performed. The green dress, the way she thanked the host, the slight smile when our eyes met. Professional. Put it together. Charles. She extended her hand. Her grip was firm. Jenny, good to meet you. We ordered wine. She asked about my work, and I gave the sanitized version numbers, strategy, client management. She talked about her job at a community center in Pilsen, working with families in crisis. Her passion showed in small ways, the way her hands moved when she described success story, the slight edge in her voice when she mentioned funding cuts. The conversation flowed easier than I expected. Chicago winters. The absurdity of deep dish pizza tourism. A shared hatred of networking events. I found myself almost relaxed, which should have been my first warning. Our entrees arrived. She cut into her salmon, then set down her fork. Can I tell you something? Her voice had changed. Quieter. I need to just say this before we go any further. Okay. She looked at me, and I watched her facade crack in real time. Her eyes filled first, then tears spilled over, and she didn't wipe them away. No one wants to date me. The words came out raw. I have anxiety disorder. I take medication. I go to therapy twice a month. I've had 3 relationships, and because I'm too much or not enough, or just her voice broke. I'm not whole, Charles, and I'm tired of pretending I am. The restaurant noise faded. I should have felt panic. Should have reached for my wallet, my exit line, my carefully constructed escape. Instead, I reached across the table and took her hand. I didn't stop what happened, I said quietly, and I'm not going to. Her fingers tightened around mine. Neither of us let go. We didn't call it dating at first. Just coffee. Then I walked along the lakefront when the October air turned sharp. We circled each other carefully, 2 people who'd learned that closeness costs. She told me about her first panic attack during sophomore year at Northwestern. 20 years old, sitting in a lecture hall, and suddenly convinced she was dying. Heart racing, vision tunneling, the overwhelming certainty that something catastrophic was happening inside her body. The ER doctor had been kind. Anxiety disorder. Very treatable. But the shame stuck harder than the diagnosis. I felt defective, she said one evening as we walked past Navy Pier. Like everyone else got the manual on how to be human, and I missed the distribution. I understood that more than she knew. I told her about Marguerite 3 weeks in, sitting on a bench near Oak Street Beach. The canceled meeting. Coming home early. The moment I'd stood in that doorway and felt something fundamental shut down inside me. I didn't yell, I said. Didn't break anything. I just left. Moved my stuff out that weekend like I was closing a business transaction. Did you love her? I thought I did. But maybe I just loved the idea of having my life figured out. I watched the waves. After that, I decided control was safer than connection. Worked pretty well for 3 years. Until Samuel's meddling. She leaned her head against my shoulder, tentative, like she was testing whether I'd pull away. I didn't. We sat there as the city lights flickered on across the water. 2 damaged people discovering that sometimes brokenness fits together better than wholeness ever could. This terrifies me, she whispered. Me too, but neither of us moved. It happened on a Tuesday in my apartment. She'd had a brutal day. A family she'd been working with lost their housing. Bureaucratic failures she couldn't fix. I made dinner, poured wine, and tried to help her decompress. Then her breathing changed. Charles. Her voice went tight. I need. I recognized it immediately from my research. Elevated heart rate, hyperventilation, the fear in her eyes. I guided her to the couch, coached her breathing. 4 counts in. Hold. 6 counts out. Clinical. Effective. It worked. 20 minutes later, she was calm. Thank you, she said quietly. The next day, I sent her articles. Cognitive behavioral techniques. an app for guided meditation, a spreadsheet tracking potential triggers sleep, caffeine, and work stress. I spent 3 hours building it. This is comprehensive, she said when I showed her. I thought it might help identify patterns. Charles, she set down her phone. I don't need you to fix me. I'm not trying to fix you. I'm trying to help. By turning my anxiety into a data problem. Her voice was gentle but firm. I don't need systems. I need you to just be here, to hold my hand and not make it about solutions. I felt something twist in my chest. I don't know how to do that. I know. She touched my face. But that's what I need. Not your research. Not your spreadsheets. Just you. I nodded, but we both felt the distance that had opened between us, the gap between understanding something intellectually and knowing it in your bones. The Parker and Associates annual dinner was black tie, held at the Art Institute with champagne towers and a string quartet. I'd warned Jenny it would be pretentious. I hadn't warned her it would be cruel. She wore a simple black dress, elegant but clearly off the rack. Every other woman glittered in thousands of dollars of designer labels. I watched her notice, watched her shoulders tighten. "And what do you do?" Margaret Shun from Wealth Management asked, her tone already dismissive. "I'm a social worker. Community center in Pilsen." "Oh, how noble." The smile didn't reach Margaret's eyes. Charles must find that refreshing after Marguerite. She was a corporate lawyer, wasn't she? Jenny's hand found mine under the table, gripped too tight. I took her to the community center the following week. Cracked linoleum, flickering fluorescents, walls painted bright yellow by volunteers. Everything in my office wasn't chaotic, alive, or real. Then I saw her work. She sat with a mother who'd just lost her job, helping navigate assistance programs with patience that seemed infinite. Played with kids in the aftercare room, coaxing smiles from faces that had seen too much too young. She knew everyone's name, everyone's story. She poured herself into people who couldn't pay her back. I'd never seen anything more beautiful. "She's intense," Samuel said Monday morning, coffee in hand, concern on his face. "You sure you're ready for that level of need? What's that supposed to mean?" "Come on, Charles." The anxiety, the emotional intensity. "She's a lot. I just don't want to see you get in over your head." I wanted to defend her. Instead, I said nothing. That silence felt like betrayal. That night, lying in my sterile apartment, I wondered if Samuel was right. If I was equipped for someone who felt everything when I'd spent 3 years feeling nothing. Maybe I should quit before I hurt her worse. Marguerite walked into the conference room like she'd never left my life. Tailored Chanel suit, perfect hair, that smile I'd once thought meant love. "Charles, what a coincidence." It wasn't. Parker and Associates had just landed Whitmore Capital as a client. Marguerite was their new general counsel. She'd engineered this. "Marguerite, we should catch up." Professionally, of course. The meetings became unavoidable. Strategy sessions. Client dinners. She always positioned herself beside me, her hand brushing my arm when she made points, her perfume the same as I remembered. "You look good," she said after one meeting, her voice low, happier than before. "I'm seeing someone." I heard. A pause. "I've changed, Charles. Therapy. Real work on myself. I think about what I destroyed every day." I should have walked away. Instead, I stood there as she stepped closer. "I'm pregnant." Her eyes held mine. 8 weeks. And before you ask, yes, he's still around. But I keep thinking about what we could have been.
I love how the
The
water
ground
looks today.
shifted beneath me. Jenny noticed immediately. "You're different," she said that weekend. "Distant. Just work stress." "Charles." She touched my face. "What's going on?" "Nothing. I'm fine." But I wasn't. Old wounds were reopening, the betrayal, the humiliation, the fear that I'd never really processed any of it. I just locked it away like everything else I didn't want to feel. I started declining Jenny's calls. Made excuses about deadlines. The spreadsheets and systems I'd built around my emotions went back up, brick by careful brick. When she asked to talk, I said I needed space. I watched her face crumble, and I let it happen. Because protecting myself has always been easier than risking my heart. Jenny wasn't supposed to be downtown that Thursday. She'd texted saying she wanted to drop off lunch, a surprise after I'd canceled our plans twice that week. She arrived just as Marguerite and I stepped outside for air between meetings. I didn't see Jenny at first. I was too focused on Marguerite's hand on my forearm, her voice saying something about what we had, her body angled close in a way that looked intimate from a distance. Then I heard it, that sharp intake of breath I'd learned to recognize. Jenny. She was already backing away, her face pale, her breathing rapid and shallow. I moved toward her, but she held up her hand. Don't. Her voice cracked. I can't, I need. The panic attack hit hard. Right there on Wacker Drive, with tourists in business suits streaming past. I reached for her, tried the breathing techniques, but she jerked away. Don't touch me. Let me explain. Explain what? Tears streamed down her face, her words coming in gasps. That I was stupid? That I actually believed someone like you could handle someone like me? That's not fair. Fair. She laughed, harsh and broken. I told you I was too much. I warned you. And you just proved me right. I haven't done anything wrong. You shut me out. You disappeared. And now you're with her. She wiped her face. I was an idiot to think this could work. So that's it? You're running. No, Charles. I'm protecting myself. Something you've been doing since the moment we met. She turned and walked away, and I let her. Because she was right. I had shut her out. I had retreated to my fortress. And maybe we were both too broken for this. You just watched them fall apart. And honestly, if you haven't subscribed yet, you're about to miss the ending. You've invested 15 minutes into Charles and Jenny's story. Don't waste that. Here's the truth. YouTube buries quality stories like this because they reward subscribers, not views. I can't keep making these without you. Subscribe right now, because what happens next will either break your heart or heal it. And you need to see which one. Do it. Now. For weeks, without her felt like suffocating in slow motion. I bury myself in work. 18-hour days. Weekend meetings. The numbers I'd always found comfort in now just blurred together. Meaningless columns that didn't fill the space she'd left. Samuel stopped by my office on a Wednesday evening. You look like hell. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're a coward. He sat down uninvited. She was the best thing that happened to you in 3 years. And you threw it away because it got difficult. You don't understand. I understand you're terrified. But that's what love is, Charles. It's supposed to scare you. That same week, I saw Marguerite at a client event. She was drinking champagne, laughing, very clearly not pregnant. I thought you said, oh that. She waved dismissively. False alarm. These things happen. The casual cruelty of it hit me like a fist. She'd manipulated me, and I'd let her. I let old wounds dictate new choices. I'd pushed away someone real for a ghost who'd never cared. I found out later from Samuel's wife that Jenny had her own crisis that week. The family she'd been counseling, the mother lost custody. The kids went into the system. Jenny blamed herself, spiraled hard, and ended up taking medical leave. She'd needed me, and I hadn't been there. I sat in my perfect apartment that night, surrounded by everything I'd built to keep myself safe, and realized safety had cost me everything that mattered. The control I'd worshipped was just another word for fear. And fear had made me lose the only person who'd made me want to feel again. At 11 p.m., I grabbed my keys. Some mistakes you can't fix with spreadsheets. She answered the door in sweatpants and an old Northwestern t-shirt, eyes red from crying. It was almost midnight. Charles, I'm terrified, I said. No preamble, no strategy. I don't know how to do this. I've spent 3 years building walls, and you walked in and knocked them all down, and it scared the hell out of me. So you ran. So I ran. I stepped closer. But walking away from you is worse than any risk of being hurt. I choose this. I choose you, even though I'll probably mess it up 100 more times. Her lip trembled. I pushed you away. I saw you with her, and I convinced myself you were leaving anyway. It's what I do. I test people until they break. I know. I'm not easy, Charles. Neither am I. We stood there in her doorway, two disasters staring at each other. Then something shifted in my chest. Tightness. My heart is racing. Vision tunneling. Oh God, I couldn't breathe. Charles. Her voice cut through the panic. Hey, look at me. She took my hands, guided me to her couch. Didn't try to fix it. Didn't pull out techniques. Just sat with me, her palm against my chest, her voice steady. I'm here. You're safe. Breathe with me. It took 20 minutes. When it passed, I felt hollowed out and strangely whole at the same time. "Welcome to my world," she whispered. "I'm sorry I tried to make a spreadsheet. I'm sorry I ran when I got scared." Dawn crept through her windows, painting everything gold. We sat tangled together on her second-hand couch, exhausted from honesty, from stripping away every defense. "This won't be easy," she said. "No, we'll hurt each other again. Probably." Her hand found mine. "But we show up anyway." I kissed her forehead. "Every day, broken pieces and all." Outside, Chicago woke up uncertain, messy, and full of possibility. Just like us.